episode number 236.
But if you give somebody a Myers-Briggs test or an MMPI inventory, you're basically discovering what that one individual's values are.
Right.
And then in a clinical setting, what you're doing with that person is you spend all your time in therapy with them, trying to help them get their values in alignment with their reality. As soon as your values are aligned with your reality, you're a happy person.
Welcome to the Be Real Show with Travis Too Tall and Huff, where we talk about life, dreams, social media, and business.
Well, hello and welcome to the Be Real Show with Travis Too Tall and Huff. Folks, I'm fired up today, as usual, and after this show, I really think you're going to take your data more seriously, your marketing more seriously, and you're going to want to check out this man and his story. And we're going to get into it because we're pumped to bring you our featured guest today, David Allison. David, are you ready to be real?
I am ready to be real. I'm born ready to be real.
He was born ready, folks. I love this guy's energy. David is the founder of the Valuegraphics database, the world's first global data set, folks, where, as we know, behaviors are changing. Things are changing all the time. We're experiencing that right now with this pandemic. The behaviors of people are changing. But basically, he's basically able to help you 8 times more effectively than ever before find your target audience, market to them, get them the right message. And he's also a best-selling author. He's also speaking around the world, an internationally acclaimed speaker, folks. Just really excited. I love this line: the values that trigger behavior for anything on earth. I love that. We're going to be talking about the values that trigger anything, folks. So pleasure to have you on the show today, David. How's your day going? How's your morning going today?
Morning's going pretty good. I'm in Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. And for those of you who don't know it up here, it's very much the Seattle of Canada. So it's kind of gloomy. We're overcast, a little bit of drizzle, but that's a Vancouver summer. So I'm just glad to see it out there. It's summer. It's our summer. So summer's good, whatever your definition is.
Absolutely. And how are things for you guys up there? Because we're obviously going through a pandemic. This is a pre-recorded show. Most people know that by now. But I still like to kind of talk about, even though it's not kind of current events is going to go later, how are you guys holding up there in Canada? I mean, how's the message and sentiment?
It's been a difficult time for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I spent a lot of my time working and interacting with folks in the United States, and I'm always sad to tell you these stories because we've been doing so well. At the moment, the last couple of days, our new case count here in Vancouver has been under 10.
Wow.
So yesterday, the United States hit 100,000 deaths. We've had I think 2,000 in total.
Wow.
So it's I feel blessed. I feel blessed, and I spend all my time just really, really upset and sad for my friends in the United States. And I just, I know it's a cliche, but thoughts and prayers, man. Thoughts and prayers.
Yes, especially in New York, man.
Oh my gosh.
I'm in California. I mean, no one's safe, folks, but we've done a really good job in California, kind of getting on the ball a little early. Everyone's a little bit more socially distanced out here because we have a big state. We're a really spread out, bigger state. We're not, and everyone's not in high rises everywhere, So anywhere you had a city where you had high rises and elevators and you're constantly just bumping into people to get anywhere, it's going to be tough to see how that goes back too. Do we hop back on elevators? How do we go through that process? What does that look like? And so, but getting into your business, because we're going to talk about, you were always into marketing and advertising and coming up with campaigns, but then you kind of bumped your way into, at some point, the fact that demographics were going to change. And tell us about that story until you didn't even expect to be into this business. Now you're a social researcher, an expert in data. And, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, you probably would have never thought you would even be in this industry.
Yeah, I started working in marketing and advertising back when we had things called advertising agencies that were sort of, the way movies like to portray an advertising agency with a bunch of creative people sitting around late at night eating pizza, drinking whiskey, and throwing pencils at the ceiling, trying to come up with a big campaign idea because they had a brief from their client that included some kind of demographic and maybe psychographic description of who the target audience was. Right. And their job in those agencies was to figure out, all right, if this is who we're talking to, 18 to 24-year-old men who make $50,000 a year and are their first job out of university, and they're white collar and they're single, but they're playing the field. That's who we're talking to. Well, obviously those guys are going to like X or Y. And so we're going to come up with a campaign or an idea or a slogan or a phrase or whatever it is we're trying to do based on those stereotypes that we think hold true around these groups of people. And the really sophisticated groups would go out and do some psychographic research and say, let's go talk to some of the folks who are actually in that target audience and ask them what they like and ask them what they're all about. And so we have equivalents of that today where we're doing social net scraping and we're doing emotional indexes and we're doing all these ways of measuring what people are today and who they are as a demographic profile, all of which is still valid. But you know what's missing? We don't know how, none of that information tells us how to get anyone to change their behavior. We can pile all that data up all day long about their demographics, their psychographics, their past sales behavior, whatever we know from our CRM systems. None of it says, if they've been doing this and this and this and this and this and this, we want to get them to do this other thing. It's still this giant leap of faith and a guess to say, that's how we can get them to move over here. Here's the example I use when I'm talking on stage. I'll pick on someone in the front row. So if you ever come and see me speak, stay out of the front row because you're going to be fair game. So the front row, I'll say, you in the red sweater, I'm going to guess you drink 3 cups of coffee every day. Generally, I get a yes or some kind of comment about no, it's actually 6. It doesn't really matter. The point is, this is an established psychographic behavior. I can tell you're a woman. I can tell that you're between the ages of 25 and 37, and I can tell that you're in this room, so you're making a decent income, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I've just given you a demographic and psychographic profile of who this person is, and we know that she drinks 3 cups of coffee a day. None of that tells me how I can get her to drink 6 cups or switch to tea or abandon coffee or try Red Bull in the morning instead or any of these other kinds of things that we might want her to do. All of that is a guess until you understand the intersection of 3 different fields of science. So if you look at the intersection of sociology, psychology, and neuroscience, they have one thing in common. And that one thing is decades of research that backs up that all of our decisions as humans are made based on one thing: values. What we value determines what we do. The neuroscientists will tell you that your prefrontal cortex is the CEO of your brain and it bosses your whole body around. But the filter that your CEO of your brain uses to figure out how it's going to behave and what kind of signals it'll send to the rest of your system are your values. Psychologists will tell you, if you're doing research, that we should be avoiding confirmation bias because people naturally are out there looking for things they already agree with. They want more information about the stuff that, guess what, they already value. So they're hunting for their values. And in sociology, what we know is when we see a group of people behaving one way or another, because that's the study of sociology, is group behavior, we can generally figure out what values they share that have caused them to all behave one way or another. So we have 3 entirely different fields of science, all who say values are the bomb. Values are how we make our decisions. So now what if we could go back to those psychographic and demographic descriptions of a target audience and say, for that group of people who drink 3 cups of coffee every day, here's the values they share in common. Now we can influence their behavior. We can engage with them because we know what their prefrontal cortex is going to do. We know what they're listening for because of confirmation bias. And we know through sociology that what we value determines what we do. If you can tell me what a group of people's values are, I can tell you how they'll behave if you say this to them or if you say this to them. And isn't that the holy grail of marketing?
Absolutely. Absolutely, folks. That's unbelievable. So getting into values, because obviously we all got common values right now. It's staying alive, folks. Hopefully keeping your hands washed, all these fun things that we're all going through, wearing masks over here in California or wherever you're at the stores. But bottom line is values change too, right? So the values of today that people value are not even the same that they valued 6 months ago, right? Wow. So certain core things are going to matter, but now obviously our safety and not be able to travel and things like that. We used to just hop on planes and go to the Giants game, San Francisco Giants game, and just go wherever you want. It was no big deal. You just planned it. You go to a concert. I want to go to a concert. The values of many things that we cared about, sports and travel and entertainment and restaurants, they've changed, right?
So, I'm Canadian and we're famously polite, so I hate to disagree with my host.
Let's do it, baby. Let's do it.
I'm going to do it.
Let's do it. I like it.
Your values never change. The
Gotcha.
behaviors that manifest themselves from your values will change based on external stimuli. So let's talk about this virus thing right now.
Right.
If family has always been one of your core values, right now you're doubling down on that. You're behaving in ways you haven't behaved around your family before. But if you really didn't have family as a value before, you didn't suddenly grow that as a value and start caring about your family.
True.
If the environment is something that's always been on your list, it's going to, the way it manifests itself into behaviors or emotions at the moment may be different than it was 6 months ago, and it may be different again in 6 months, but this value is still there. Gotcha. I talk about it like passports. At a very, very early age, you're issued a series of passports. So we all know somebody who has passports to 3 or 4 different countries. At this moment in time, perhaps they're living in the United States, they're working here, and so their US passport is the most important thing to them. And then they meet a lovely girl and they move to Argentina, and suddenly their Argentinian passport is the most important one. They still have their US passport. It's in the sock drawer, but they still have it. The Argentinian passport at the moment is the one that they're using to make all their decisions with. That's how our values work. They never change. So what we did in response to this idea, this hunch we had, that values were going to be the way we could actually predict and influence and engage what an audience's behavior might be, is we went out and built the world's first data set of what everyone on earth actually cares about. We know what everybody's values are to a level of statistical accuracy that would earn you a PhD at Harvard. And it's 500,000 surveys now from around the world. We've used 152 different languages. We're accurate in 180 countries. And for any product or service or brand or idea, any movement, any not-for-profit, we can tell you exactly what the shared values are of the people that you're trying to influence. So it's great to know. Let's just use an example here. I have a fountain pen on my desk. This fountain pen, if we're going to try and sell this in Lithuania, we can say the people who are going to buy this fountain pen in Lithuania, here's what we know about them. They all value family, the environment, personal responsibility, and religion. Now, if you know that about these folks, and you know that values are how we make all our decisions, you're going to use those 4 triggers as a way to name your fountain pen, design your fountain pen, market your fountain pen, cut up a campaign about your fountain pen. And if you don't, you're just shooting, you're just shooting guns in the air. You have no idea who you're going to actually get unless you target with values. Is the only way that we're going to decide that this is the fountain pen for me.
And connect too. I think that's what you're saying. Really connect to these campaigns. Like you're connecting your value to this product that I didn't know I needed right now. I didn't know I needed this new product, this new pen that popped up on my social ad feed. Let's just say, for instance, in my world of social advertising, I didn't know I needed this new pen, David. But because you connected to me in the family, my culture, maybe it is, maybe the fact that I'm a podcaster, etc., then this pen is going to mean more to me than this Papermate, for instance. And I'm going to want to buy it for $7.99 plus shipping or whatever it is, right? I mean, that's what the advertising world is. I mean, if you look at
but it's been guessing so far.
It's been guessing, yes.
You know what? I think based on how many pens like that we've sold before and who seems to have been successful in our competitive set, I think if we do this, we'll probably see some success. Well, now we can say, if you talk to them about this value and this value, you will be 8 times more effective than if you just try and figure it out on your own and hope you hit it.
Gotcha.
There was a really famous experiment done. I want to replicate this because I think it was really smart and it would help me tell this story if I did one of my own. But this guy was interested in the value of, he was coming at it from the value of storytelling. But inherently in there, he was also measuring values. So he took a pencil, a used pencil. It was half sharpened down, half used. It had some teeth marks on it.
Right.
And he listed it on eBay.
Wow.
Twice. The first time he put this pencil up, identical pencil, same photograph. The first time he put it up, he described the pencil and he said, it's an HB pencil. It's, 3.5 inches long. It's been used. There's some teeth marks on it. I gave a really accurate description of the pencil.
Right.
The second time he listed it, he said, this is the pencil that was used to write the last book of poetry that my grandfather wrote before he died. This pencil was his inspiration, and it means so much to me and to my family. This was his creativity tool. Every time he touched this pencil, he became a creative person, and the poems would flow.
Wow.
Which one do you think sold for more?
Guaranteed. The one you just said.
Because creativity. So anybody who sees themselves as a creative person, anyone who has any kind of connection to family, those two values, they're like, bing, 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 I need that pencil. And they will bid against each other for that pencil because we're looking for confirmation bias. We're always looking for, I'm a creative person and I love my family. I want stuff that makes me feel like I'm a creative person and proves that I love my family. So this pencil's doing it for me, man. Even if I don't need a pencil, I want that thing because it's making my values glow.
And it sounds magical too, with the way you made it sound on that. On the pencil. I'm like, damn, that pencil's gonna make you some magic money, baby. Let's go. Let's go. I like your style. No, it's a good point. It's a really good point because I think we all a lot of times kind of describe in nuts and bolts or in just real data-driven description. This water bottle is 8 ounces. It's full of water. It's got a blue label. Instead of saying this is the fountain of youth. This water is has molecules in it from the greatest minds in the world. And this, because that's what they say. They say bottled water. There's all sorts of, we recycle the water, and so this could be the greatest minds of the world drank the same glass of water. The past greats, Anyway.
You're bang on. Another one of the ways I talk about this sometimes is to talk about a campfire. We're all kind of tending our own fires. And this is the work of our life, is to keep our fire going. And our fire, my campfire, is all about the things I care about. That's what I'm focused on. So now along comes someone else who says, hey, you should come pay attention to my fire for a little while, which is some guy trying to sell me something and saying, you know what I think's really cool is this, this, and this. Like, you know what, dude, that has nothing to do with my fire. So I don't have any time for you. But if that same guy comes over and says, hey, that's a pretty cool fire. Now, I got this product over here, and it's just like your fire because of this, this, and this. In other words, if this guy brings me a log for my fire, he tells me stuff that's already related to what I already think is important. He can hang around my campfire and toast some marshmallows with me, and we'll talk for a while, and we'll be buddies, and then he'll get me to be interested in his thing. What I think too many marketers do, regardless of channel, whether we're talking about social, we're talking about public relations, we're talking about classical television and magazines and whatever it is, we think we know what's important and interesting. And that's cool. That's perhaps true for us. But what do the people we're trying to influence think is cool and interesting? Not just about our product, but about life. Right. So if you're going to try and talk to me about your thing, tell me what it relates to that's already something I'm focused on, already something I'm looking for confirmation bias on. Now, the psychologists have known this for a very long time. Psychology, the field of psychology, and any psychologist listening, I apologize in advance for oversimplifying what you do. But if you give somebody a Myers-Briggs test or an MMPI inventory, you're basically discovering what that one individual's values are. Right. And then in a clinical setting, what you're doing with that person is you spend all your time in therapy with them trying to help them get their values in alignment with their reality. As soon as your values are aligned with your reality, you're a happy person. If your values are not in alignment with your reality, you are an unhappy person and you need a psychologist and you need some therapy.
Right.
We have not been able to do this with entire target audiences of people before because we didn't have enough data arranged in the right way so that it can be extrapolated and used to help entire audiences get their values in alignment with a product, or actually the other way around, help a product or a company or a brand talk to an entire group of people so that they're aligned around the values that they're triggering. That's what we've done. It's nothing we've invented. We've just put the data together that makes it possible. I'll give you one other example. Smoking. There was this moment in history, not too long ago, where we all kind of decided smoking was for losers and we weren't going to smoke anymore. But this had been decades and decades in the making. People had been telling us forever that smoking was going to kill us, it was terrible, it was going to cause lung cancer and emphysema and all these other sorts of things. You know when it's changed? It changed when we weren't allowed to smoke inside anymore.
Gotcha.
And that's because the reason we all decided to quit around that moment in time is because by forcing us to leave our friends, our family, the people we were hanging out with at work, and go outside,
Right.
you now are impacting my values.
Got you.
Now it's like, whoa, wait a minute. This stuff's really impacting my values.
Right.
I'm going to get a patch and start chewing Nicorette because I don't want that to go down. All the other stuff, my lungs are going to get black. I can't see my lungs. Who cares about that? Touch my values though, and I'm going to make some changes because I need my values to be in alignment with my real world.
Wow. That's fascinating right there. That's a good one right there because anyone that's wanting to make a movement, that's wanting to make a change, just want to make something happen right now, I think what you just aligned right there is what you can use to empower your movement, to empower your message, your brand, your business, because you have to essentially make a change in the value. These people don't give a crap that they're burning their lungs to like a barbecue. But the second you tell them, hey, you got to be away from your kids for 5 minutes outside in the hot heat out here in California, we got like a 105 this week. So sit outside in the hot heat, then I'm going to make a change. It's so interesting.
Leave your friends behind in the bar. All the good times you're having in there, you're drinking and dancing and having fun, and you got to leave now.
Right.
You got to leave because of this habit.
That's a good point. That's a really good point.
We've been doing this as a species over and over and over again. I mean, the other great story is we all managed to decide to wear seatbelts.
Right.
We all managed to decide that living downtown was okay when previous to this, living in the suburbs in a white picket fence in a house with a white picket fence, that was the goal. And then suddenly we all decided luxury condominium towers downtown seemed like a pretty cool idea. All of these things happened because of trial and error, decade, trial and error. Now we can do it with the data set and we can make it happen right away.
That's amazing. And folks, we're going to get into this too, because I love this, man. I love this. We'll definitely put you all the stuff in the show notes, the valuegraphics.com. But now we're about to take you, my man, into our top 10. Are you ready?
Okay.
Apple or Android?
Apple, no question.
Netflix or YouTube?
Netflix.
Instagram or Facebook?
Instagram.
What kind of stuff do you like watching on Netflix?
I'm a serial junkie.
Like, I watching
like a show, and I will watch like all 27 episodes in one setting and not go to bed.
Yes. So you like that. That's the real benefit to you in having Netflix, is that you get to just binge it all. You don't have to wait. There's not this delay like we've traditionally experienced in TV, is they kind of
Let's take it back to values. I am a classic workaholic. That's one of the values in our 56 values in the data set. I exhibit all the traits of a workaholic. I have workaholism as a value. One of the things workaholics detest is wasting time.
Right. So
if I decide that I like this show, I want it all right now so I can get back to work.
Yep. Go all in, spend that time, and then you have the rest of the rest of the time that week to enjoy, work. At the end of the day, most of us, that's what we're doing. We're out there working, folks.
Yeah.
Chicken or steak?
Oh, chicken. I have embarrassing stories about chicken.
Yeah.
You want them?
Sure.
I'm sure where you are, same thing happens as where we are. We have those grocery store chickens. You can go to get the rotisserie chickens.
Yes.
So 9 times out of 10, dinner for David is destroying a chicken over the sink in my kitchen.
Nice.
I can't believe I just admitted that to
It's easy. It's the best thing to do. Those chickens are good, man. They make those things good and juicy too, man. Those chickens are amazing. And usually out here they're like $5. It's like, wow, $5 to $6, $7. It's like, wow, you can't really get anything cheaper than that. Laptop or a smartphone?
Wow. I need both. I have to pick one. I guess.
Yeah, you got to pick.
I guess phone. I guess
phone.
Now.
Yeah, because you can't get the calls on the laptop. That's the only downside.
That's true.
Spotify or Pandora to listen to music?
Spotify. Or
movies or video games?
Movies.
Yeah.
Never understood video games. Never understood them. Not my thing.
A lot of wasted time in there if you're a workaholic, like myself too. You got to be real strategic with your video games. If you do play, folks, I have nothing wrong with that. Hey, there's something to video games, okay? But it's all about the time you spend. Let's just remember. Okay,
so let's take this back to values. One of my core values is success, and not necessarily from a financial perspective, but I won't do anything unless I know I'm going to be good at it. And I suck at video games, so I do not want to have anything to do with them.
Right. Plus, you're going to get beat by like a 12-year-old. You suck, dude.
Yeah, some 12-year-old who lives in like the Ukraine that I'm never going to meet is like telling me I'm horrible.
You were the worst person who's going to troll you all day as a 12-year-old. It's so funny. Reading books or listening to books?
Reading.
Nice.
I'm old school that way. I still like the feel of paper in my hands.
You got a nice catalog right there in the back there. So you just pick a book. Stocks or real estate?
Real estate.
Oceans or lakes when you're thinking about vacations?
When I think about vacations, oceans.
Yeah, oceans. There you go.
Yeah.
You excited to get on a plane somewhere and go on a tropical vacation someday when we get all back to normal here?
I'm not a big vacation guy.
Okay.
Vacations for me are about big cities, generally speaking, but
Gotcha.
Big cities on an ocean, that's about the best combination you can possibly have.
Yeah, Miami. There we go.
Yeah, there we are.
That's one of my favorite places to go. Why do you love being you? When you wake up in the morning, you're looking yourself in the mirror, you're getting ready for the day. Why do you love being David Allison?
I'd give you a trite answer. I can give you one that may just change the tone of this conversation a little bit. How about that?
Let's do that.
All right. This database not only has the ability to change behavior for companies, but the reason I'm working so hard is we take money from companies to help them target their target audiences and improve their ROI by 8 times. And we take that money and we use it to give this data away to global nonprofit humanitarian organizations who are trying to change the behavior of people so that the world becomes a better place, which I know sounds like such a cliche and a horrible thing, but let me give you one quick example. Right now, we're throwing approximately an entire dump truck full of single-use plastics into the ocean at a rate of 1 per minute. 1 per minute around the world.
Wow.
With this database, for all the different parts of the world, the organizations that are working on that particular problem, I can tell them what it is they need to say, what buttons they need to push in that part of the world to get people to change that behavior. Now, it won't make it go away,
right?
But even if it changes it by 5%, I'll die happy.
Yeah.
And that's just one issue. There's so many things that our world needs to change the way we look at each other and understand each other.
Yep.
So many divisive problems on this planet that are about just not understanding what's important to each other.
Right.
And I can fix that. I can help fix that. And that's what's cool about being me right now, is knowing that I've got the ability to seriously, not just in a cliche way, but seriously help make this world a better place.
Yeah, that is amazing. And I think that's a really commendable thing for you to do as part of being a business owner, is giving back to those that probably can't afford maybe the profit side of what it would cost them maybe.
It's not about the folks who can't afford it, because we only work with global humanitarian organizations. But, I was on the phone with the United Nations the other day.
Wow.
And that's the stuff that I want to be able to just think, yeah, they could probably afford to throw the money at me, but I don't want to take their money. I want to be part of helping the United Nations do the things that they can do to make this planet better.
That's amazing, dude.
It's amazing. It's a huge responsibility. Sometimes it makes me cry.
Right.
But it's possible. It's possible for us to change mass audience behavior by knowing what people care about and using that as a way to talk to them and say, listen, I know you care about this, so you should be thinking about behaving this way, because that's going to be in alignment with your values. It's so powerful. It's so simple. Right. And now we have this database that lets us do this all over the world.
I'll tell you the one that everyone needs to stop doing right now that's killing people. Texting and driving. You need to connect to people's values around that shit, because that shit is crazy. Now, I will be right there with you, folks. I will sometimes, if I have my phone and a notification happens and I'm stopped at a light somewhere where I'm stopped, physically stopped at a light for a second or two, look at it. Okay, cool. If I have to quickly respond, I have text in those situations, folks. I won't lie to you. But it blows my mind when people are driving at speeds of 20, 30, 50 miles an hour, 100 miles, whatever, on the freeway. And they're on their phone. It's unbelievable. I mean, you're driving.
Have you seen stats about this?
It's crazy. I know it's like 10 times worse than than drinking and stuff. They say a lot worse than being on substances.
Yeah.
I don't know all the details, but I'm just saying it's especially in our state, California, they try to push hard on it, but it seems like people still don't care.
Have you got a law? Is there a law in California that says you're not supposed to?
Oh yeah.
And do people get arrested? Like the
you get big fines. You get like $200-$300 fines if you keep getting text and driving. You eventually could get your license pulled. The fines increase the more fines you get. So if you do it multiple times, you're going to be getting a bigger fine the next time. And they do enforce it as much as they can, but it blows my mind.
That's ridiculous. It's
scary because you're driving a damn bomb, basically full of fuel. Yeah. I mean, we got a lot of Teslas out here too, but still, those could still light up on fire. But and these people are on the damn phone. I mean, something
Yeah.
could pop up, a squirrel, a pylon, shit. I've even had homeless people pop up on me on the road before, and if I wasn't paying attention, they're gone, and I'm, maybe who knows where I'm at. So the point is, you gotta just
you've killed a lot of homeless people. Is that what you're?
I've tried to, but but a lot of times they avoid me. No, I've just been driving, and all of a sudden, some homeless guy just walks right across the road, and it's like, if you weren't paying attention and you're on your phone, that guy.
You just never know. You just never know. You know what? I never really thought about this. So if there's a global organization that's working to stop people from texting while driving, they should call me, and I'm going to help them out.
Yes, because I think it is a problem. And obviously we have, a lot of things coming with self-driving, and hopefully some of these benefits, but until then, we got to be real careful, because I think this is a big problem. It's hurting a lot of people, and people that are young too. A lot of the kids, that you're having. Yeah. So, also a couple more questions for you, my man, is do you think you'll ever retire? Do you think you'll ever say, put the hat off, put my gloves up on the wall, I'm done?
I can't see it as long as I'm capable of continuing to do what I'm doing. I have started to think about what happens to this data set when I do retire, when I'm dead.
Right.
Because I don't want this thing to fall into the wrong hands. So I'm having conversations with a really interesting global organization. It's a not-for-profit. It exists to use technology to better the world for all of mankind. They've been around for hundreds of years. They have 500,000 members around the world. I won't name names, but it's a very big, well-known organization. And I'm talking about just giving this to them when I'm done.
That's amazing, dude.
So that they can just keep using it and doing good things.
And keep collecting and perfecting and making it better. I'm sure there'll be, you said 52 core values. Do you think you'll ever see other new values arise?
Interesting question. So the social science world tends to look at a list of 40 core human values that have been set up by the World Values Index, and they're used by like the Bhutan Gross Domestic Happiness Index and some of these other established social science measurements. Mm-hmm. Because we're one of the first, if not the first, to do an entire global survey of what people value, we actually found an extra 16 values that no one else uses in their list. Stuff that people were saying to us that does not fit into that established list of 40. I'll give you one great example. When we look at different regions of the world, we like to see what are the top 2 or 3 values in each part of the world. And most of the time, it's something to do, some combination of family, belongingness is always near the top. Sometimes financial security is up near the top. Those are fairly common. And then there's one part of the world where there's a value that we didn't see in any other part of the world, let alone at the top of the list. And it's the Middle East. And in the Middle East, next to family, the most important value is morality.
Wow.
Now, I was speaking in the Middle East a few years ago, not even a year ago, and I was up on stages in Abu Dhabi and Dubai and all these different places around in universities, and the consulate there was really kind and had me talking to a bunch of really interesting people. And I would get up off the stage, and there's always somebody who wants to come and say hi afterwards. And I had women and men coming and speaking to me in traditional dress, women in burqas who I only could see their eyes, men wearing full dish dash, the white traditional outfits. And they were coming up to me and saying, you nailed us. You nailed it. Morality is what we are taught from a young age. It has nothing to do with religion. Wow. It has nothing to do with what other people in other parts of the world think about us as being intolerant. It has to do with the opposite of that. It's everything to do with about getting to the right way, doing it in the right way, and making sure that everything that happens along the way is done properly.
Right.
Because morality is core to who we are. So
that's amazing.
Thank you for helping us. Thank you for finding that. And please tell as many people as you can, because they're very aware over there that they have a bit of a PR problem in the rest of the world. You talk about folks in the Middle East and instantly we get negative stereotypes in our head. And I tell you what, the 2 weeks I spent there talking to people and telling them about what I'd found, which I was a little trepidatious getting up on a stage and going, I think your second most important thing next to family is morality. Is like, I don't know, I'm not from here. This is what the data says. And to have them just come up and go, you nailed it. I met the most wonderful, friendly, welcoming, embracing people in probably any of the other countries that I've ever been to. I felt more welcomed there than any other part of the world. And people need to know that these stereotypes we get fed by the mainstream media because it's convenient to have good guys and bad guys and people who are, we like to see them one way or another. It's just easy to put them in little boxes.
So true.
Not the case for the folks I met in the Middle East.
So true. And they're saying the same things going right now with China, with the, Communist Party. Obviously, unfortunately, whatever. We don't know all the details, but something happened there. And the people of China are great people. But
Sure
they live in a different culture, society, dictatorship, different type of world than we do out here in America or you do in Canada. And so they're great people. The PR thing is wrong because these people are hardworking people. They own restaurants and businesses, and I think they're probably one of their top things is morality. I don't know if the data. Obviously, you said it's was definitely. I think that's maybe if you look at it, that's another great point. Is I think how many people are worried about the morality, and right now
it doesn't even show up on the list of values in the United States or Canada.
Wow.
Morality is not one of our values in the top 40.
Wow.
It shows
it's
up
like
if
success
we go to
and wealth and all these happiness and all these things.
Oh, we have all kinds of other really good, honorable, wonderful things about us, but not that one in particular.
That's interesting. Yeah, that's fascinating. It's you know what? I mean, I just think it's fascinating because most people, like you said, we have a lot of things in hyper targeting and demographic targeting, and the things you can do with social media are amazing that you could never do when I was working at ABC Television back in the day.
Yeah.
But now this is just another level, folks, because if you know their values, now you know how to talk to them. Now you know how to put the right message in front of them, and so that's the key.
Well, let's even take it one step further because it's not just about marketing. I know your listeners and your show is, but just to put a little bit of a,
bigger picture,
blow everybody's brains up just a bit. You talk about ABC Television. What if you knew in advance what the viewers cared about around a particular show? And you were able to say, not focus grouping the creative and making it all horrible and all that nasty stuff, but just saying, you know what, the people who are going to be watching the show, they really, really care about personal growth. So why not build in some ideas in here that are about how they can become a better version of themselves tomorrow than they were today, whether that comes through little lessons, if it's a drama or a fiction, or if it's a nonfiction, make sure you're focusing on those things, the takeaways that you can have that you can apply in your own life. If you know that personal growth is something everyone's jonesing for, who's looking at that show, why wouldn't you use that information? And in fact, you take it to any kind of product development or research and development. We'll go back to my silly fountain pen. If you know that personal growth is something that the people who are going to buy this fountain pen are all about, how can you make this fountain pen in a way? How can you actually build it in a way that's about personal growth? Maybe it connects to an app on your phone that measures the number of minutes you're using it every day so that you can keep track of how much writing you're actually getting done. And it gives you a little a ding or some kind of a Pavlovian award when you hit your daily
the Fitbit. He made the Fitbit fountain pen, baby. I like that. It's a great idea.
Fitbit fountain pen. There you go.
I love that idea. It's a good point. It's a really good point. And I think more and more businesses are going to have to innovate with technology, with physical products and things like that going forward too, because everyone likes the trackability of things like that. I mean, that's what motivates us. That's why we're a Fitbit, Apple iWatch culture. That's why we got iPhones to do different things in productivity and limiting us from certain tasks and keeping us more productive. Not everybody, but some of us use these tools to see how much screen time I'm looking. Can I use the do not disturb function on my phone at certain periods of our days? And we're all trying to figure out how to use this technology thing. That's the really interesting thing. My next question to you is, do you have a skill that you're trying to master right now? Is there something you're looking to get better at, something to be better at?
Yeah, I used to do a lot of public speaking, a lot. I mean, it was 30% of my income. And I loved it. It's probably my happiest place in the world is to be up on a stage in front of a couple thousand people. And I'm modesty aside, I'm told I'm really good at it. It's a skill I have.
Yeah.
Now I have to learn how to do this the way you and I are talking to each other on a small screen, where I can't actually see the audience. I can't feel that energy exchange. I can't perform in the same way that I was performing before. I have to learn how to do this in an entirely different way. So I've been deep diving around that. I'm determined to not let this new state of the world abort my ability to get the word out about how much more powerful values are than demographics. And so it just means I have to pick up a new skill set, and so be it. Let's go. Let's do it.
Practice, baby. That's all it is. Just practice. You put in the work and you just practice and practice and practice, just like you did with the stages,
Yeah,
I think absolutely. The biggest thing after been doing this for so long and realizing there's not an audience immediately, for me, there's the audience is me and you. right?
Yeah.
So that's how I first think of it as the host, right? I've been doing this now for 5.5 years, almost 6 seasons, 220 something episodes now, is because it's just me and you. And I want to get the best out of you, and I don't want to interrupt you when you hit the good points, and I want to just be there to ask you some poignant questions. But the point is, I always have to remember myself. There's more people listening to this down the road, and so it's just one of those things that you kind of just have to get excited for the moment. I don't know any great tip. I think that it's a great point to be self-aware of where we are today, because I think less people are going to be doing conferences and events for the next foreseeable future until we get a vaccine or maybe some other form. I don't know. Yeah. I hope they can get sports and events and concerts all open, but we don't know. These industries might be impacted. However, you got a beautiful thing called podcasts and Zooms and YouTubes and live interviews, and there's just so many people listening and consuming these things, and it's scaling. More people are listening. More people are getting new smartphones. The more smartphones that are connected, the more people have the ability to listen to their podcasts. And so,
so here's a question for you.
Sure, absolutely.
If I turn the tables on you here for a moment.
Absolutely.
So, you get up on a stage. Did you do public speaking? Are you like stage guy? Okay, cool.
Absolutely.
So you're on the stage. You know how this goes. You got 45 minutes and then some questions, or 60 minutes and no questions, whatever it is. And you kind of have a rhythm to the course of that time, and you can feel the room, and okay, I better pick it up here. Or I lost them. I got to slow back down and go back over that point that they missed. When you can't see anyone, that's pretty hard to read. And secondly, how in the hell are you supposed to keep everybody's attention for 60 minutes of you talking into a camera? It just seems to me to be the best I can come up with is to chop it up into chapters and say, you know what, you need to do a whole bunch of little 5-minute segments and string them together and give people the opportunity to ditch and come back to it later.
You hit it on the head. The reason why you love going deep on Netflix is because you can binge them all. And so you need to take that 3 hours or 1 hour or whatever the amount of content you're planning on talking about and breaking it up into those shorter episodes. Now, podcasts are different because people are on audio, so they can be working out, walking, listening, driving. And so in that format, people are willing for it to go a little longer without them tuning out, if you want to call it, especially if they're seeing the values like we've been talking about, or seeing the value, folks, on the show and listening to it and getting things from it and tidbits. Then they're going to maybe listen to your next show. And then that's what happens all the time. We see quite often is people do exactly what you do. And they listen to one show. They say, oh, shit, I love David. Let's listen to the next show. And then let's go back through the catalog. And so the most important thing I think is to realize is building the catalog is more important than any one video. So more important to put out content, keep pushing out content, keep growing, versus any one video getting millions of views and all this stuff that people all want, which you could pay for. You could fake. A lot of celebrities and a lot of music artists, they pay for their views. They've gotten banned many times doing this over the 11 years I've been running my business. I've seen it happen a lot. But the point is, you can fake it, but if you want real views, it's really just a one-on-one connection. You have to realize that you'll never, folks, be able to see their reaction.
Right.
So I'll never be able to see your reaction right now. If you're like saying, T-Huff, you hit it on the head. You can't see me smiling. You can't see me frowning at you right now. But the point is, you have to still bring your energy. And I think that's all you can do. Bring the message, bring the energy. You've done a great job today. I would say that you have an amazing message, an amazing story. I love the campfires. I love the analogies you use because it's so connecting. The smoking topic. I mean, that's fascinating, folks.
It is cool, isn't it? I have one last thing I want to leave everybody with, because this is the stuff that really blows everybody's mind. Not only can this data set help us understand what the shared values are for any target audience, we can also, because of the way the data has been collected, we can slice and dice it like the real world and examine a demographic category. So we all sit around and talk to ourselves about how stupid it is to think that people who are the same age actually are going to be similar to each other. But then we go in and sit in a boardroom and we say, well, my target audience is 18 to 24-year-olds or 25 to 36-year-olds or whatever that number is. And somehow we lose our collective brains when we walk into a boardroom and we've picked our target audience and everything's great.
Right.
So we also went into the data set and started looking at all these demographic labels. So I'm just going to give you my favorite three. If we just look at baby boomers around the world, 500,000 surveys, and of those 500,000 surveys, the proportionate amount who are baby boomers is the same as the real world. So we look at the number of baby boomers in our data set and we say, on all 436 different metrics that we've measured, what we value primarily, but also wants, needs, and expectations, how often do baby boomers agree with each other? In other words, how similar are baby boomers to each other, and therefore how possible is it to target baby boomers with a message? Well, the numbers are going to knock you over. Baby boomers agree with each other 13% of the time. Wow. So the best possible ROI you can expect on spending $1 or an hour trying to talk to baby boomers is 13%. Wow. Now it gets better. Just because we're humans all around the world, you're alive, you're breathing, we tend to agree with each other about 8% of the time. So that's the table stakes. You get that for free. So targeting baby boomers gives you, what's that, a 5% lift over just doing whatever the hell you want and targeting anybody, just like firing shit out there and hoping something sticks. Wow. Generation X agrees with each other 11% of the time, less the 8% stable table stakes. So that's the lift you're getting by targeting Generation X. And the millennials, who we cannot stop hearing about. Millennials, how many trillions of dollars have we spent over the last couple of decades trying to target millennials and change the world for these unicorns in the enchanted forest that can't have anything the way it used to be? Right. Millennials only agree with each other 15% of the time. Wow. Which means if you take away the 8% that you get just because they're human, you get a 7% better ROI targeting millennials than if you just target nobody.
Anybody, just whatever, 18 to 65, just open demographics.
And there is not a single demographic label that scores any better. Male, female, rich, poor, educated, uneducated, number of kids, married, divorced, single, white collar, blue collar. We do not resemble each other based on what we are. Right. So that's why we have to shift to understanding each other based on who we are and what's most important to us.
So true. I love this. Couple last questions for you, my man. Okay. If you could sit down to a chicken dinner with anyone in the world, who would it be?
Okay, I have the craziest answer for this question ever. And I have to explain it a bit.
Let's go.
My answer would be Queen Elizabeth.
Oh, wow.
And because she has been witness to, 6 prime ministers and world events for close to 100 years. She's had a front row seat. She knows the secrets. She knows the stuff that none of us knows. She's been informed and told about everything going on in this planet. And she's kept her mouth shut about it all. I want to pour a few gin tonics down that woman and let her tell her stories. She give her that fascinating.
Give her that one cocktail they give everyone when they see him in the movies, where they like put him in the truth serum or whatever they put that. Let's get the truth serum in the lady. No, it's true, man. I mean, honestly, and her poise and obviously the ability just to withstand all the different criticisms, I'm sure, and you know how it is. It's like,
I'm not a big guy. It's not like some kind of royalty fetish I have or something.
Right, right.
Who else is there that's had that kind of access to everything for so long?
At that level too. Not just like for 4 years or 8 years or whatever. They get the presidency and then they kind of move on. I'm sure they have some access that they have, but nothing to the level. And also, it's a different kind of whole culture. We don't have kings and queens over here in the United States. So it's just something interesting to see, that people are okay with that.
She knows more about American politics than Americans know about
absolutely.
American politics. And she knows more about global politics than anybody knows about global. I sure hope that it would be it needs to be recorded somewhere. I don't think she's allowed to, but what a book. Right. What a book that woman could write.
Or exactly. Or some form of a book, some form of when they can release certain things, how like now they just released that we have the UFOs, things that they just saw recently out here in America. They just released the footage of UFO things. They're like, oh shit. Did you know that these things just existed? It's just
and she's probably had tea with them.
Right. She's like, hey, I had a few teas with those guys. Those guys are great guys. Great guys.
I love those aliens.
I love those guys. That is amazing, my man. Well, we really appreciate you having on the show. I know that what you're doing today is impacting not only today, future generations. I pray and hope that people actually take this message to heart. Remember, if anything out of this, folks, is your values are how we connect to each other. Okay. My man is giving you guys the blueprint for the next future 10, 15, 20 years as we get out of this pandemic and beyond. And give us one last real talk thought, my man. Give us some fuego.
I always sound like I'm pimping my book when I say this.
Let's do it. I want to hear about the book. I love it.
And now, because I want everyone to know that when you write a book and put it on Amazon these days, you make about $1 a book. So everybody in the world would have to buy a book, and I'd have enough to get like a cheap beater old car. It's not about selling books, but in the book, there is a 10-question quiz that you can use for any target audience you're trying to understand. And it will point you to one of the 10 chapters in the book where I have spilled everything I know about that particular archetype inside our data set. So if you want to start using values as a way to understand your audience for the cost of a book on Amazon, $14.99, the book is called We Are All the Same Age Now. My name is David Allison. Buy the book. It's a free tool in there to start using values and to start thinking about your target audiences differently.
That's amazing. We'll definitely put that in the show notes, my man. And on social, where's the best place to find you? Where's your favorite place to hang out?
I live on LinkedIn.
LinkedIn, baby, my favorite. We just connected on there. I love it. LinkedIn, folks, is the platform for especially business to business. But my man, I love what you're doing. I love what you're doing with what you talked about with what happens after you live in this life, because we only have one life, and this data will help future generations. Thank you for doing this, because obviously it's probably taken a lot of work, a lot of blood, sweat, and tears. We know entrepreneurship is not easy, but we're going to get through this, folks. You've been hanging out with David Allison and Travis Too Tall Enough. We want to thank you again for your time today, and let's keep being real. What another epic episode. And if you enjoyed the episode today, can you please do me a favor and subscribe to our podcast, The Be Real Show, on iTunes or your favorite podcast platform. And also take a little time today, if you don't mind, and give your boy T Huff a review. I would really super appreciate it. And thank you so much for listening today. Right now, more than ever, folks, we need to work on our reputation for our businesses and get those reviews, get those positive reviews, get those positive recommendations on both on your social, but also to market on your website. And that is why you want to check out my business, folks, our software, realtimereputation.us. That's realtimereputation.us. Please check it out. It is literally the best thing that's ever happened to many of our campaigns, as that reviews bring together your social and digital campaigns. And the more positive reviews, as people are making those positive, decisions, they're looking at your, at your reviews. And so the more you can get, the better. And make it easy and automated with realtimereputation.us. Check us out.